chance to really get their season going, because it's been a bit stuttering to begin with.
Well, it's the best possible way to get their season going, with Morrow, the ruck, thumping it inside 50 to get the first disposal of the game, and then Molan. Geez, we've called that surname a fair bit in the first game. Now we're calling it again in the second one with Sophie Molan wearing the number 73 in the long sleeves. Big day for the Molan family, Jen.
Yeah, Sophie's brother Alex made his Essendon debut earlier on today. Had a big contingent of family here for that. And now Sophie, who typically plays as a key defender in this side, seems to be playing as a key forward.
This one might be locked up again on the paint of 50, although Sophie did well to extract the footy. Put the ball on the deck, and the Southern Saints are trying to bust this one out with no success. So we'll have another stoppage about 40 out from their goal. So leading into this game, Jem, I believe on State of Play I did have both of these sides in the top 6 when it came to the end of the season. But you see the Southern Saints a little bit differently than I do. What are your reasonings behind that?
Yeah, I feel like the Southern Saints are a team that you can't trust.
Yep.
They'll play a brilliant game one week and then completely fall away the next with very little change in terms of their personnel. So I just couldn't trust them to put them in.
So Bailey Hunt, that was, getting the ball to the top of the goal square. Molan is down there, the Southern Saints. Defence will stand up with Ryan, using her teammates to the full effect to the outer side of the ground. Bounced up perfectly for DeAngelis, although Chaston steals the footy. Kick partially smothered. Keeps going forward, though, off the boot of Ryan to the top of the square. This one will just trickle across the face of goal, but already from Drew Ryan. First shot at goal is a minor score. It's interesting you talk about the Southern Saints in being one of those teams you can't quite trust, maybe because you can't quite get a read on, Jem, whereas we sort of know where the Bombers are at and where they have been for the last 2 years. Obviously, you've got 5 other sides ahead of the Southern Saints when it comes to teams that you can trust if you're to rank them in a trusting order, I suppose.
Yeah, and the Bombers, Joe, we had the privilege of calling the Bombers in round 1. And then I called them again in their draw against Williamstown. They're a side that generates so much opportunity but just simply does not capitalise on it. And they can be an incredibly frustrating team to watch. And I imagine if you're a Bombers fan that it's really hard to watch them sometimes because they do everything right. And then what's their conversion rate look like? They've kicked... I'm trying to find it now. You just handed me a sheet. 12.36 for the year. So they're converting a quarter of their shots on goal. That's one little bit of polish that they can clean up and be one of the most dangerous sides in the comp.
Well, they're at the top of the goal square here. Molan is lurking around this footy, along with Bailey Hunt, who's locked up. They are plus 63 inside 50s across the first month of the season too. It is a ridiculous amount of time that the ball is living in the Essendon forward half. And right now, the opening few minutes it is. Here's Georgia Nanscon getting boot to ball to the top of the square. That's a mark to Tia Davidge. It is. Thought maybe it hit the deck on her way down, but the umpire saw it differently. She takes the mark. Yeah,
Georgia Nanscon, she's one that adds that level of class to the team. She came back last week and played in their 2-point loss to the Western Bulldogs. And now she's just going to continue that powerhouse work around the contest.
So, the first few minutes of this game, it's all being played to the left of screen in favour of the Bombers. Davidge into goal, across the face. And just as we spoke about, not maximising on those opportunities, a minor score.
It's happening again. I do wonder if Sophie Molan's move into attack is not only about adding a tall, she's over 170 centimetre, another tall presence inside 50, but Georgia Clark has come in to play her first game of the season. I think Georgia Clark was the underrated pickup of the 2023 AFLW season. She was delisted by Geelong and then picked up as a delisted free agent to the Bombers. And she played every game. She's got that beautiful combination of height and speed in defence. She's so dangerous as that rebounding defender as well. So watch her in the number 17 in the back half for the Bombers today.
And another one who's come in is the girl on screen, Bailey Hunt. Of course, an AFLW premiership player with the Western Bulldogs. Has come across to the Bombers. This is her first game in red and black colours. She's having the shot at goal, and she's getting full purchase. Brilliant start to your career at the Dons, Bailey. Brilliant goal. They're away, 1-2-8. The Southern Saints are yet to score.
Joey, do you want to know... My voice just broke there.
I would love to know.
Do you want to know a fun fact about Bailey Hunt?
Yep, of course I do.
So in the AFLW, there's 2 Rising Star nominations each week because of the shorter season. But she was in round 1 of season 1 of AFLW 2017. She was one of the very first AFLW Rising Star nominations.
Well, she would have been one of the first 2.
Correct.
Going on those numbers.
Yeah, and now that I've said it, I regret the fact that I can't remember who the other one was. I think it was Taylor Harris.
I guess you've got some research to do before this game's out then. Georgia Nance gone. Well, if Taylor Harris was also the rising star in the first round, I guess Bailey would be second, given Harris comes before Hunt when you put them alphabetically. But if you're going on first names, then Bailey was first. Here's the Southern Saints going forward. Although it's the girl Jem just spoke about, Georgia Clark, getting it away, and Chaston through the centre square. It's coming straight back. DeAngelis was very clean, and the mark has been taken here by Ella Friend at centre half forward. The Southern Saints can stream forward. Deanna Joliffe found so much space, snuck out the back, took the mark. She's probably too far out to score. Got Chloe Hunt on in the goal square. Oh, that's brilliant from Joliffe. And she goes into the pocket. Well played from the Southern Saints. They shoot into goal, and this one is a minor score off the boot of Darcy Guttridge for one behind, Jen.
Yeah, so Chloe Hunt is the player playing out of the goal square for the Saints. She's been their main avenue to goal this year. She's been fantastic, and it looks like Madison Ford has been handed the job on her and is wearing her like a glove, so just not allowing that little lead. So even though there was space for her to lead into, she was being too well held by Ford. So that'll be a role that Ford has to play consistently throughout the whole game, because Hunt can kick a bag when she's up and about.
So there's Clark for the Bombers, shoveling the handball out. And it's going to be a free kick coming back, I think.
Yeah, it was a dangerous tackle from Ella Friend on Georgia Clark there after the ball was gotten rid of.
So Isabel Porter now, a floating kick in the Molan direction, or running off the ground without eyes on the football there was Madison Torpy. Now she's staying out there to contest the next ruck stoppage. And it was Jamie Lee Morrow for the Bombers who was facing away from the Sharon.
Should mention Jamie Lee Morrow, South Croydon product, as is our colleague Sarah Black.
Oh.
So they played a bit of footy together. I imagine the height difference is pretty big between them.
At the South Croydon Bulldogs.
Yes.
Just for reference, that was Gemma Bastiani's voice calling you short, Sarah, and not me. Not me.
I didn't call Sarah short.
You
I
just said
there would have been a height difference.
You were alluding to the fact that Sarah and I are the same height, Gem. I noticed on the State of Play promo this week that you and Margie Saunders, our social media lead, decided to show everyone the box that I stand on.
Well, it's true. You do stand on a box.
You and Margie, clearly a touch heightest.
Margie's been fantastic to work with this year.
Sarah and I might start a little riot with you and Margie.
Go
Here's
for it.
Georgia Nance gone. You won't win, Gem.
You've got Nat Edwards on your team as well.
Absolutely. The superstar that is, the host of the AFL Daily coverage. The face of it still, her little cartoon Bonce, along with Damien Barrett.
So that was a dangerous tackle on Amy Gaylor now, which has got
look at you straighten up.
In Essendon's hands.
And she sends it out wide for Williamson to go back inboard. Southern Saints defence will stand up as DeAngelis reels in the Sharon. Snapping over the shoulder there was Felicity Crank. Around the body, the Bombers with Hooter can send it back inside to the half-forward flank, although they're standing up at the moment. The Southern Saints defence. Sophie Phillips has got the support that she needs from Ella Friend.
The Bombers have got numbers back here, though. They've spread really well into defence across the width of the ground.
Caitlin Matthews up the line. She goes for Winnie Lang, who, star in her own right, Gem, is Winnie Lang.
Doesn't necessarily always use the ball with the highest efficiency, though, so needs to be really careful here.
Into the centre square.
Great
that
mark.
Is a lot better from Lang. And Torpy will go in the direction that we thought she would go, and Chloe Hunt, who we spoke about just moments ago, is this just beyond her, Gem, or has she got the journey in her?
It'll be a stretch, but she looks reasonably confident. But I think if you're going to give up marks to Chloe Hunt, you want to do it at this point of the ground, not deep.
The kick partially smothered. I think she was looking for a smaller option. She's put Nanscorn down. Has Chloe Hunt then gone and won the footy. Georgia slow to get to her feet. The ball did spill out. Williamson was wrapped up in a strong tackle.
Georgia Nanscorn looking a little bit frustrated, but she wasn't given a free kick for that late hit either.
Maybe felt like there might have been a little drive-by. This one's locked up again. Strong tackle by Ash Melnikas. The umpire let it go. And some form of a kick was fashioned out of there. Head over the footy here is Ruby Marnie. This one locked up again, so the umpire will call for it. Centre half forward Melnikas was strong, getting the footy to the Bombers centre half forward position, but it's the Southern Saints who are holding their structure to win the footy back. This is DeAngelis keeping it in, missing on the handball. Williamson goes after it, and with Georgia Ricardo, high tackle. So she's going to get a free kick.
So Natalie Plain there just couldn't get a clean grab at the footy. It just kept eluding her around the boundary there. But the Southern Saints would have been out if she'd been able to take that cleanly.
On the stretch and just taking the mark is Felicity Crank.
Great name.
Who will crank it up and send it to half forward. And
is there a crank in the VFL as well?
We'll come back to you on that. Right now, they're off to the races here with Phillips, giving the handball off to Wrigley, going in the Hunt direction. She couldn't reel it in. Now she's doing the work at ground level, snapping over her shoulder to the top of the square with Foran, along with Chaston. Al busted through a tackle, sent the handball towards the boundary line. Winnie Lang at the bottom of this contest. Come back to you on the crank in the VFL, but clearly Gem has studied the season guide and maybe vaguely remembers seeing a name of similar fashion. So thrown back up in the forward pocket for the Southern Saints. Chaston on hands and knees. I like, Gem, the way Al Chaston has led the Bombers in their first month in charge as captain.
Yes.
Of course, we spoke to Al on Captain's Day, the season launch, to get their views on how they wanted to lead this team.
Yeah, and with so much change, it is a really daunting position to step into, because you have to solidify a group that is quite new together with a new coach and a new vice captain in Sophie Molan as well. There's a lot on your shoulders in terms of the team, but then you also need to play your own footy as well. So, but balancing all of that, I think Al has done a fantastic job at. No one will be more pleased when the Bombers get their first win than Al Chaston will.
Maybe that day is today. Brilliant kick from Nanscorn. They've worked that footy beautifully into the hands of Drew Ryan. For a free kick at half back, a brilliant tackle from Bailey Hunt. And now Drew Ryan from the pocket. Another behind. They're peppering Gemma.
Yeah, inaccuracy or poor conversion seems to be the theme of the day, doesn't it, Joe? Previous game and now this one. But a poster won the game for Southport earlier, so every point counts.
Especially in the close ones. I noticed looking just around the grounds at the Rebel VFLW, there's not a hell of a lot of closeness about the scores. I know you're very excited about one in particular.
Is that a Joe, give us an update of the other games that are happening?
I'd like to hear how the Swans are going against Casey, if you don't mind, please, Gemma.
Earlier today, Box Hill defeated North Melbourne by 50 points out in Box Hill. GWS is currently beating Geelong in the final quarter, last couple of minutes, 93-9. Sydney, halfway through the last quarter, beating Casey 102-18. Carlton is currently leading reigning premier, the Borough, 22-7 after the Borough lost their first game last week, and Darebin is currently scoreless against Collingwood, who have kicked 9 points 4 minutes into the second quarter.
Brilliant clearance. Ends up with Manfrey, open goal square. How will it bounce? Hunt will go off the ground. Soccer style. Brilliant from Bailey Hunt. She looks right at home in the Essendon forward line. That's her second. A Georgia Nance-gone clearance. Oh, it's the Bombers at their best, Gemma.
Yeah, Bailey Hunt, famously a defender at AFLW level, but seems really comfortable in this forward line for the Bombers. Just quick to react, I think, and quick to read the way the play is unfolding to be able to make good decisions ahead of whoever her opponent is. And that's allowed her first to get that set shot opportunity and now to recover at ground level as well.
That's a really good point you made there, because on the goal line, a lot of players will have a tendency to try and grab at that footy and almost fumble it over the line. She had the nous to just kick it out of the air. Set up perfectly for her. Maybe she's the answer. The swing woman. Defender turned forward. She's kicked the first 2 goals of this contest. Here's Marnie on the deck. Bobbles out the back door. Phelan shovels it backwards to Guttridge. They take it wide with Torpy. Snap round the body came from Ryan to centre half forward. Chaston met the opponent in Hines, who's playing game number 50, Ali Hines, today.
Yes.
Nice little achievement for her.
Certainly is. Should mention, Georgia Nance-gone, after that Hunt goal, came to the bench to get a bit of a breather, and Bonnie Toogood, co-captain of the AFLW Bombers, who's doing a bit of a coaching role today, came up, checked in on her, make sure she was okay. Just calm her down a little bit, because she's had a couple of knocks that maybe she sees as unfair. So Bonnie just there to manage the emotions of the game as well as the footy side of it.
So Porter goes out wide to Huda. She went looking for Malnikas. Ball hits the ground, which opened the door for Deanna Jolliffe to go to work and lock the ball up. We talked about in the Smithies VFL, the number 18 being back out there looking a lot different, of course, than when Matty Lloyd used to swan around in it. But for Essendon fans who see a long sleeve number 5, it's like their eyes just light up flashback style. And Georgia Nance-gone, albeit possibly the female version of James Hurd, the way she gets clearances, Gem, and accumulates possession, she's a very smooth mover.
She's seriously powerful, and she's got such a fascinating backstory as well. So she's, I think I'm getting this correct, she's the youngest woman to play on the national scale for Australia as a hockey player, a hockey-roo. So she had such a successful career playing field hockey for Australia, was over in WA, didn't quite know what to do next. She was encouraged by Courtney Ugle, who obviously used to
former captain.
Essendon,
third crack at it.
And was encouraged by her to just give footy a crack. And as a cross-code rookie, she was signed to North Melbourne's inaugural side back in 2019. She only played the 2 games, got delisted, and then just came back to the VFL to play her trade, just love footy again. And then as a result, she improved and then was their very, very first pick at AFLW level when they got their license. So it's a really impressive story of a really dedicated athlete as well. And then you throw in the ACL injury she had as well during their VFLW Premiership in 2022. Missed all of Essendon's first season at AFLW level and then came out last year and was absolutely remarkable. So it's a story of resilience and persistence from Georgia Nance-gone, and we're the ones that benefit because we get to watch her play every week now.
Hunt quite happy to watch this one go over the line. She's also added a couple of medallions to her own CV as Georgia Nance-gone. Lambert Pierce medal might be one of those.
Yes, and captained that premiership side as well back in 2022 when she did her knee in the last quarter.
Yeah, handy footballer.
Yeah, brilliant. And she's added, she's gone to work on improving the parts of her game that maybe were a little bit deficient after being delisted, and has become a really well-rounded player in that midfield.
So here's Clark sending it inside 50 in the Molan direction. Another one in the long sleeves. Brilliant piece of roving. The shot at goal. The composure from Sarah Ford, who drives through the Bombers' third. And a terrific start to this contest for the red and black. And Sarah Ford has her name on the goal sheet. And it is staggering to see Gemma Bastiani as you pass comment on this. Why? She's just kicked the goal. She's coming from the ground.
Oh my God,
It's the greatest bugbear in Australian rules football, and Ari's got a terrific shot of her. The adrenaline's pumping, and she's now sitting on the bench next to the coach.
Well, it's a good little birthday gift for her, that goal. She's turning 28 on Wednesday.
Right on the siren. Great gift for Sarah Ford. Gemma, you can finish your sentence.
Steph Kane, who's
Yes.
the other co-captain,
Yes.
and Brooke Walker have
Yes.
also been doing a little bit of coaching as part of this side too. So we've seen a few AFLW players not playing but acting as coaches in the VFLW this year, including Chloe Malloy for Sydney, Beck Privatelli and a few others. So it's good to see them getting career development, skill development in all sorts of areas, and it's what the VFLW can provide.
I read a great piece on AFL.com.au earlier in the week about Chloe Malloy and her role at the Sydney Swans. I can't quite recall who the author of that piece was, but really well written, well researched. And here go the Southern Saints with a free kick to Hunt. Jem, can you just tell me who that author was for that piece? I didn't quite catch it on State of Play either earlier on in the week. Sort of opened the discussion off the top. Maybe you come back to me on that when you Google it, who it was. It was really well done. Around the state leagues, AFL.com.au. Are you going to write another piece very similar to that, Jem?
I mean, I probably won't write a similar one, but yeah, that one was about how different clubs are making use of their state league affiliates throughout this portion of the year. Obviously, we don't have an AFLW season until August.
It's a flying shot, a goal from Gab DeAngelis is through for a minor score. In all seriousness, Chairman, it was a great piece that people can go and check out on AFL.com.au. What did you learn from the clubs that you spoke to about how they are using this state league program to fulfil what they want to do later in the year at the AFLW?
Yeah, I think it's more how much of an advantage those that are part of the VFLW have maybe over other teams in other states. So in South Australia, WA and in Queensland, they don't have a direct affiliate where they just play their team unit in the second tier. They kind of get proliferated out amongst a lot of other clubs, which means, great, you get some match minutes into your players, especially young players who want to try in different positions, but you don't develop the team strategy, the team connection that is so important. Whereas you look at Box Hill and Sydney, they're probably the prime examples, GWS as well, in the VFLW, that they're just getting a bunch of players in to adapt to the style of play that they want to bring at AFLW level this year. So it's essentially giving them an extra 5 games before the season starts to adapt to that so they can hit the ground running once AFLW begins. So it is interesting to see how different clubs are using it, how Hawthorn in particular has made the most of it. But we'll obviously see the results of that come August when the AFLW season begins. But yeah, it's been a really good VFLW season, I think, so far this year as well.
Well, all that was going on. The surge forward from the Bombers was repelled by the Saints, particularly from Nat Plain, and now it's on the outer side of the ground with Charlotte Ryan. She wants to cut back inboard. He turned over again, although strong was Torpy. The Bombers equally as strong in the centre of the ground to lock this footy up. Torpy trying to get away. In fact, it might be Jemima Wrigley, it is. It looks a bit more like a tendency, Gem. I know we spoke about this in round one, having watched Port Melbourne against the Bombers, who Sean Bunkle told us wanted to play with a bit of flair and freedom, get the outside. That a lot more clubs, like you see, I guess, when you're watching one Premier, that becomes the blueprint that every club wants to follow, is to play with a bit of skill. You know, the run and gun, as Nat Plain is doing here. And Hunt, it's a terrific mark.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, I want to play attacking footy. Not every club at AFLW, certainly, and that has bled into VFLW, has a focus on playing really attacking footy, because you can be very, very vulnerable when you do choose to play that way. We saw that with Sydney in their first season, back in season 7 of the AFLW, that, yeah, they wanted to play attacking footy, but it meant that they bled a lot of scores, and sometimes you do look silly, which is what Scott Gowan said, was sometimes you look silly, but you have to commit to developing that sort of footy, because it actually helps grow the game that way too. And I think Port Melbourne have been a good proponent of that in the VFLW, as not a standalone necessarily, because they do have an affiliation with Richmond, but as one of those clubs that isn't technically just an AFLW club in disguise, essentially. But I think Essendon, we've seen a bit of that today. They do want to play that way a little bit where they can. Southern Saints, going back to that unreliability, they more so are the sort of team that is willing to lock the footy down, willing to make it a scrap, willing to make it a rolling maul almost, which obviously is something that they made the decision to choose to play that way. It could be simple as, we don't quite have the skills yet to play in a different way, so this is what we're going to do now. But it is an interesting game style difference. Personally, I love to watch this willingness to take it to the open side, that willingness to use your foot skills to cut back in. These foot skills from Essendon are fantastic here. That obviously drop mark doesn't help, but that ability to move the ball by foot is really impressive, and it's the development of the players as well. We've had AFLW for almost a decade now. We've got a lot of players coming through that maybe not going to reach that AFLW level, but they're playing at this level and they're very, very good. That's my little, manifesto on the development of women's footy.
It was a nice little spiel that you gave just there. While all that was going on, the ball is in the forward pocket for the Southern Saints.
Charlotte Ryan is the leading disposal winner on the ground with 10 so far. Natalie Plain has the 7, as does Caitlin Matthews. So all Saints at the top of that ball-winning tally.
So DeAngelis, they're going back to go forward here with Natalie Plain. From half forward, gave it everything, just too wide and out of bounds on the full. You mentioned Sydney and Scott Gowans in your spiel there, Jem, and
yep.
It was fascinating hearing you go on one-on-one with him last year about his thoughts around being a new team but growing the game, and we have to almost play this way for the long game. We have to play the entertaining style. We can't try to save games and win by 10 points to 9, because we want people to come and watch us play. And I mean, the feedback on that is how many people turned up to Henson Park throughout the last season and watched them. We'll get back to your answer on that in a moment. Brilliant from the Bombers to go the length of the ground, and Taylor Hart-Aluni has got it 20 out from goal directly in front to inflict more pain on the Southern Saints.
Yeah, but Joey, that passage of play is exactly what we're talking about.
Correct.
Clean foot skills, running in waves, hitting up your targets.
Hopefully kicking big goals. Little stuttering approach. Hands on her head as soon as it left the boot too. Frustration follows the Hart-Aluni kick with a behind. 3-4-22 now to 3 behinds. We've gone 7 minutes in this second term. It's going to be Tessa Boyd, girl out of St Kevin's, to bring the footy back in. You talk about successful programs. Well, she's come out of the best one in the Ammos. They've won the last 3 A-grade women grand finals. Have St Kevin's, Chaston barged through, left the footy behind. Southern Saint down off the ball, arms are in the air. So we may just have a brief pause in play. I think that was part of the Chaston attempt to break through a couple of tackles, and there might have just been a hit on their head. Can't quite make out who that is from here, Jem.
Yeah, but they didn't get up, and then teammates were waving for doctors to come and support, so doesn't look great.
There might just be a call for a stretcher here as well.
Yeah, with things like this, you want an abundance of caution, especially, obviously, head knocks have been a massive, massive conversation for a long time now, but, you know, Nathan Murphy recently retired as a result, and Angus Brayshaw. We've seen some AFLW players battle that sort of stuff as well. We don't know that this is a head knock either. I think it could very well be a knock to the sternum or to the stomach, and it could be a case of ribs or something like that as well. But
well, there are immediate hands up in the air from the Southern Saints girls around her. And as I said, it was part of that passage of play as Al Chaston, not that there was any intent to hurt, purely eyes for the football, but a clash of bodies down low. Perhaps there was a higher hit. And I imagine too, just the extreme precaution is, let's not even bother trying to get you to stand up right now. This young lady, let's just get on the stretcher and assess in the room. So no, well, you can see Nat Plain's gone over as well as Caitlin Matthews, who's been there for a couple of minutes now. So we're just awaiting this break in play. There is hands moving and discussions going on, so
it could very well be Ella Friend. Not to worry any family members or anything, but I think it may be. Yeah, I think it may be Ella Friend, unfortunately.
So while this goes on, Gem, a question without notice, 20-minute quarters, clock naturally will stop for this?
Yes, time gets called off for serious injury like this, but in the AFLW, in the VFLW and the AFLW, outside of serious injury stoppages like this, there's no time on. So it's flat 20-minute quarters, which makes it easier for us to count down the time left, but it can be frustrating if you see that a team may be wasting a bit of time here or there.
So it's now at 9 minutes into this second term. 3-4-22 to 3 behinds.
Yeah, it's Ella Friend down, which is not only a worry for her safety and her well-being, but she's a player who can change a game. She's also a player that is, I think, this year in line to play a significant role in the Saints' push for finals. They just missed finals last year on percentage. She's being developed into a really dangerous key forward option who can also come up the ground a little bit and be that link inside 50. So hopefully this is just simply massive precaution for her.
Great to see her standing up now. So
yeah, that's Ella Friend there. She seems to be grabbing at her.
Maybe just the back of her neck might be a touch stiff. Now,
yeah.
Again, I'm not going to be critical of anyone here, but in the AFL, as soon as the stretcher comes on the ground, are you not obliged to get on it?
I think that is the case in the AFL.
So maybe just different here. I would have thought, given how long this has taken, that maybe we, for the sake of ticking every box in terms of precautions.
But if you do go off on the stretcher, you can't return to the field.
Oh, I imagine in the modern game, of what we've just seen and the fact that it has been 3 or 4 minutes, we won't see Ella again for the afternoon.
Yeah, so no doubt we will see her undergo concussion testing and everything, and something that we probably haven't talked about a lot, other than obviously at AFL and AFLW level, it's a 12-day concussion protocol that you enter when you've had a head knock.
Yes.
At anything below that, so including VFLW, it's a 21-day protocol, but
mandatory.
But if you're an AFL or AFLW listed player,
oh yes,
given the fact that they have probably better support, given they're in that elite program and they've got medical support around them, they only have to adhere to the 12-day.
Okay.
So if you're a VFLW or VFL listed player, you have to adhere to the 21-day protocol, but if you're AFL or AFLW listed, it's 12 days.
Well, there's a silver lining for Ella Friend if she has been diagnosed with the concussion. She's just standing on the bench at the moment, has just made her way off the ground. So we will restart play with the Bombers 21 points ahead of the Southern Saints in this second term. Melnikas is strong in the tackle of Darcy Guttridge.
Yeah, and Ella being one of their 4 AFLW listed players today, that's why Natalie Plain and Caitlin Matthews were the ones that were over there with her. Obviously spent a lot of time with her as part of that AFLW program.
So Drew Ryan will send this inside 50. Hooter stands at the front of the contest to take the mark. Marnie at the bottom of this pack. Lurking is Amy Gaylor, but Empire will ask for a back. Nat Plain also there for the Southern Saints. It's going to be Torpy to win it down. Here is Gaylor. Gave it off to Melnikas. Found a bit of space in front of her. Sent it to the top of the square. It's starting to fade away, although Hunt bounced back towards goal. Southern Saints right on the last line of defence. Work it out. Sweeps the handball to Jolliffe. And the mark has been taken by Charlotte Ryan just beneath us. Plays it down the line. Oh, brilliant spoil across the front from Emily Goff. over the line. This is a young, exciting talent, is Emily Goff, Jem.
Very much so. I imagine lots of Bombers fans will be excited to see what Emily Goff is doing here. She was their pick 20 in December's draft to the AFLW side. She's a Sandy Dragons East Malvern product. She's a tall utility, so she can play in all sorts of different spots. She's 179 centimetres tall and no doubt still going to grow, potentially going to reach that 180 club that we know that AFLW players covet.
Do they?
They do. I've written 2 pieces in the last 2 weeks about players being excited that they've reached 180 or that they're desperate to get there. One of whom was Montana Ham on the podcast. The other being Molly O'Hare, a WA talent who's probably going to go in the top 10, I would say top 5 even, of this coming AFLW draft.
So in the centre square, Morrow went along the ground. DeAngelis had a crack at it for the Southern Saints. Camped over the footy. There was Felicity Crank. The umpire will ask for the ball back. In the centre circles. Sweeping the handball backwards was Ryan. Gave it to Nanscorn. And then a nice, well-weighted ball. And the Bombers are off to the races again with Marnie. The ball hits the deck on 50. Malnikas. Beautiful handball to Davidge. Got boot to ball. Manfrey makes a fist of things. She's got Molan for support. Southern Saints stand tall for the moment, but it might come back. That's a brilliant mark. Sitting underneath the high ball was Lily Rose Williamson. Malnikas cuts the cross the front of Manfrey. Took it, and Ash will set this one up brilliantly. Absolutely perfect. And Tia Davidge on the end of it takes the mark. Perfect from the Bombers.
Joey, this is some seriously good footy from the Bombers here. It's just here where they've broken down a little bit, not kicking accurately, but the way they're transitioning, hitting each other up, getting into space, really impressive.
A shot the first term and missed in the second quarter. Hits the stick. Same result.
That opportunity as well came from an impressive Georgia Nanscorn clearance in the middle, getting out into space, hitting up the perfect kick to the boundary line, to the wing. So just her vision to find those options is super impressive.
So Tessa Boyd out of sight of the ground. That's a brilliant kick.
Here we go.
Taken by DeAngelis and off to Lang. They've got the numbers as the ball hits the ground. Foran just brushes aside her opponent, though the handball went to Goff, who was wrapped up by Phillips. Foran had a second attempt at trying to get to Phillips. Chasten's asking, and the Bombers are rewarded. Brilliant tackle and a 50 because Foran just gave the handball straight to the umpire. And so Essendon will charge forward 50 metres. And a genuine chance at another goal. Manfrey is lurking. This is Molan. Chasten rides past. Gets the handball receive. Perfect. Goff. So Molan in a one-on-one in the square. It's a low data of a kick that's been intercepted. Caitlin Matthews takes them up.
Kayla Matthews, she's a father-daughter selection, the second ever father-daughter selection to St Kilda. Her dad played one game for the Saints back in 1996, but in AFLW you're eligible even if your dad's only played the one game. She's yet to make her debut at AFLW level. I think what they're struggling with is trying to find her best position. So we've seen for a couple of weeks now she's been playing in that defensive role and she's looked pretty solid. So is this the year that she breaks into that senior side?
Here's Manfrey, just handball over the top. It works out. Or missed by Hart Aluni, get it back from Williamson. Unfortunately, comedy of errors, as Jem Bastiani would say. A free kick. Is this the advantage going to be taken? It's a wild shot at goal.
And everyone stopped.
They did. And it's going to be a throw-in. Looked like it was going through there for half a moment.
Bent all the way back, didn't it?
You know, Hart Aluni's asking the question as to why we're not bringing it back. The advantage was taken. So it's going to be thrown in. Bombers into the ground. Morrow wins it down. Molan is lurking. Olivia Manfred pushed aside. Matthews, Williamson, out the back door. Flying shot at goal. Oh, terrific mark. Chloe Saltry takes it on the last line defence.
That was an unreal defensive effort there from Saltry.
She gave to Ryan. Matthews. Phelan. Wrapped up by Hart Aluni. The Bombers are putting the press on. Here's the captain, Chaston. Chooses not to shoot for goal. Maybe should have. Malnikas. Ash will pick it up. The handball was intercepted. Chaston will get it back. Thrown 360. The footy smarts on show there from the skipper. Molan also wrapped up. Player down just off the ball. It's Caitlin Matthews. Picked up by her teammate, Georgia Ricardo.
Former Pie?
Right. Now in the Southern Saints. Still got 2 of the 3 colours.
My brain just paused.
It's a lengthy pause. You could drive a truck through it, Jim. Not sure where you were going. The ball's at centre half forward. Locked up. We must be nearly at half time. Gemma Bastiani can reset.
I've only had 1 coffee. I think that's the problem.
Maybe get some fuel in at half time. And we'll come out for the second half. All guns blazing as Abby Trejalis comes on the ground. Brilliant sidestep from the Bombers to the top of the square. How will it bounce in the goal square? Molan is strong. Ricardo was even better. To not panic. Ends up being rushed through for a minor score.
A few of these desperate moments for the Saints defence have been really impressive. That one just there, obviously, from Ricardo, just the composure to just keep the ball away from Molan. And earlier Saltry as well. Those deep defensive efforts that are probably the most stressful thing to be under the pump with on a footy field. They've been very, very good and arguably kept the side in it.
It was a really good tackle from Guttridge. Ryan was called out of it by Joliffe. Go to centre half forward with this kick. Decides, in fact, to just play the percentages down the line. And why wouldn't you? When DeAngelis is sitting underneath it. To the top of the square for Foran. Too strong. On that occasion is Georgia Foran. And she has the chance just before half-time to swing back some of that momentum the way of the Southern Saints.
Yet to kick a goal this season, Georgia Foran.
I see here, Jem, she's from the Caulfield Grammarians. One of those A-grade sides of the Ammos. Glen Huntley Park is the home ground. She's kicking goals here at the Hangar. Brilliant finish too. She's excited. So she should be. That's her first goal, the 19-year-old. And the Southern Saints have won just before halftime.
We were praising the transition and clean ball use from Essendon earlier on in that quarter, but gee whiz, that was a brilliant end-to-end movement from the Saints and probably the best skill on show I've seen from them in quite a long time. Just picking out their options and then, really importantly, holding those contested marks. I think contested marking is such an important aspect of W footy because it allows you to maintain possession of the footy, stops it from getting into congestion really quickly. So as a result, it's really kind of, it feels like the game has evened up quite a bit. I know that there's still a 15-point buffer Essendon's way, but it feels like the Saints are just hitting their groove a little bit now.
We're going to have a secondary stoppage in the centre square. We're nearing half-time. Of course, this quarter is going a touch longer with the injury to Ella Friend. The Bombers get the clearance. They'll go inside 50. Can they snuff out any momentum the Saints might have gathered just before half-time? Strong from Bailey Hunt. Locked up. She's kicked a couple of goals if you're just joining us.
Did well there not to give away the free kick with that tackle too.
So about to be thrown back up. Both rucks fell over. Wrigley shoveled the handball. Hart Aluni. Oh, brilliant evasiveness. How clean was that? Missed her teammate on the handball in Gaylor. May have opened the door for the Southern Saints. They're going back to go forward. Goff tried to cut a swathe through them. And it ends up with Morrow, who's doing the bulk of the rucks today with Steph Wales not in the team. Oh, just out of the fingertips of Bailey Hunt, who will go back after it. Matthews trying to break away from Bailey, who's jumped on the back piggyback style.
Bailey Hunt was so quick to acknowledge that she had space and to lead up, it just wasn't the right kick to hit her perfectly, but her forward craft is really strong.
Camped at centre-half forward. Matthews has got some space. She's had a bit of the football in this second quarter. And they're a chance to get through here, the Southern Saints. Chaston stops that 4-0 forward. Goff to half forward. Awkward bounce for all involved. Harder Looney was strong, but maybe just in the back. Matthews into the centre square. Call to play on now. To centre half forward. They might get another one. It's Winnie Lang. The goal face opens up. She pins the ears back. And the mark has been taken on the goal line. Well, that would have been interesting, Gemma Bastiani, if Lily Bateman wasn't standing there and that had gone through. Unfortunately, not to be the case. 3-6-24, the Bombers won the Rebel VFLW.
I'll be honest with you, Joey. I hope so.
Okay.
Because they've been playing the sort of footy that deserves the points, but they have to carry it for the next 2 quarters. We've seen, particularly in that round 1 game, they completely fell away after half time. So if they can keep that up, they look really hard to stop.
Well, they're going to go off the ground and go inside 50. It was Hunt to Davidge. It's an open goal square. How will it bounce? Exactly the way that the Bombers wanted to. No, it hits the bottom of the stick. It just didn't want to roll over the line and go through for a goal. Tia Davidge now has 3 behinds next to her name, but it would have been, Gem, the dream start to the premiership quarter.
But now they're able to trap it in their front half, which is something they did very, very well last quarter. So if they can just maintain that territory and then get it into the hands of those dangerous smalls, Bailey Hunt has obviously been the most dangerous.
Well, Gaylord's getting it from Nanscorn, kicking it along the ground to the top of the goal square. It was almost a throw. Nanscorn, Gaylord stands up. In fact, it's Hunt again. Right to the goal line. Now Davidge is having a crack at it. No, another behind.
It looked good though, didn't it, that kick?
It looked real good from Bailey Hunt. And I'm not sure what she was doing down in defence for 50 games at the Western Bulldogs. She's clearly a forward.
She seems to have a new lease on life. Obviously at this level it's a little bit less pressure as well, which can always help, but yeah, she looks like she's just enjoying her footy, doesn't she?
Oh, 2.5 quarters in, well, just 2 quarters in actually, to her life at Essendon. She's a bit like Vicentini in the men's game, playing inspired footy. Here's Sophie Molan. She's been wrapped up by Abby Tregellis.
So worth noting that the Saints are down to 4 on their bench because of that Ella Friend knock in that last quarter. We hope that she's okay. She seemed to be walking okay and pretty cognizant, but she hasn't emerged back onto the bench that I can see, unfortunately.
We're going to have a secondary stoppage at the interchange gates. Early going of this third term. Thrown back up. Going to keep this in is Tregellis. Send it down the line. How will it bounce towards the boundary line? So Lassou. Free kick will follow, and Sophie Molan will take the free kick.
Recently back from a trip to the US, Sophie Molan, with a few of her former Richmond teammates.
Why wouldn't you take the opportunity to get over, see another part of the world? Chaston. Short for Gaylord, didn't take the mark. She's got Nanscorn for support. Went through the legs and did that really well to get it up to Marnie. Now with Chaston. And a brilliant handball for Sarah Ford. Her kick down the line. She went looking for Richardson, but a terrific mark standing in front was Caitlin Matthews. Really good first half of footy from a Southern Saints perspective.
Here's Ella Friend. Ella Friend's just emerged from the room. She was just showering and in her sneakers and training top. So
that is good
okay,
news.
but won't play any further part in this game.
So from the centre circles, the Saints will go forward. Well, Chaston, I think, had a crack at trying to take mark of the year and misread it in all sorts of ways. And on the pain of 50 here is Phillips. To the top of the goal square she goes with the kick, and a wonderful intercept mark from Lily Bateman, who's now done that twice. Either side of the halftime siren, Jem.
Can I suggest, though, Joey, that Lily Bateman initially didn't plan on taking the mark.
Right.
Initially planned on just spoiling that footy, but it just seemed to land in her lap and she just held on.
Well, she planned on taking that mark, and that's what she's done. A third intercept mark for Bateman, and that's a beautiful kick too. Williamson has the ball. 27 disposals last week for Lily Rose Williamson. Oh, Phillips just ran straight at her, and Lily Rose ran at her. Brilliant way to win back the footy, and then a little don't argue to go with it. I like that from Sophie Phillips. Lily Rose tried the Dustin Martin don't argue. Phillips was up to the task. The spiral to the top of the square. It might be a chance. Tregellis near side. Minus score.
Dare I say, Joey, that if Lily Rose Williamson had tried that against nearly any other opposition player on the field, she would have gotten away with it.
All right. Okay.
Lily is an incredibly tough player, and 9 times out of 10, that move would have worked for her. But Sally Phillips just was not having it. I should mention as well, even if it felt a bit tense there between them, they did have a little shake of their hands there after that behind was scored.
A little appreciation for one another. Here is Phillips again. Pretty busy to start this third term. Teammate will run past for the handball. Thump it to the top of the square, and Molan, in the natural habitat that is the defence, takes the mark. Went looking for Malnikas with a kick that wasn't very good. Let me put it that way. And the mark's been taken by Georgia Foran.
Initially, it was a bit lackadaisical from Darcy Guttridge against Sophie Molan there. Essentially gave up on the contest to allow Molan to take that mark, which you don't want to be seeing, do you?
So Georgia Foran kicked the only goal so far for the Southern Saints. This one's going across the face of goal, but the mark has been plucked out of the sky. Terrific grab too. Right on the boundary line. Opens up the angle, does DeAngelis, and hits the stick, and then it hits the other stick.
Well, we had a controversial ending to Essendon's draw against Williamstown in a very similar position. Essendon had an opportunity at goal from that spot, and it was called a behind, and it resulted in the draw in the end because it hit both posts as it went through,
right,
just as that one did.
Well, that was clear as day that it smashed into the post. The handball from the Southern Saints is going to be turned over.
Great kick.
Well-weighted kick from Drew Ryan into the centre circles with Sarah Ford. Now Georgia Nanscorn on centre half forward. She can drive it inside 50. Olivia Manfrey is the deepest player. Goff also in the box C. Flew up but didn't take the mark. Did Emily Goff. And it's the Southern Saints.
Just popped that one up a little bit too high, allowing the time for the defender to come across and impact.
Nice composure from Phelan. Here's Phillips again. What a third term she's having to start with. And Winnie Lang at half forward. Hunt's on the lead. Molan standing her. 3-on-1. Was there a block? There was. So Hunt has got the ball. 55 out from goal.
It's just clumsy from Clark there.
She'll have to wait for the cavalry to arrive. Set this one up. DeAngelis lurking over the back. The numbers with the Bombers. Bateman, Molan, her handball. Put her in a bit of trouble. Dangerous. Phillips now checking on Sophie Molan, who seems to be okay. There's a minor limp up, but nothing to be too concerned about. Her kick, though, wasn't a great one. Georgia Clark made it look okay. Cleaned up the mess and then picked out Goff, who's off to the races. Takes the ground in front of her, cuts back inboard, and her kick's been turned over. And the mark being taken by Ricardo, who's sinking corridor and decides to check the kick. And why wouldn't you? Charlotte Ryan takes the mark. There's a bit of room to move in this Saints forward 50 arc. Oh, big contest. At the fall of the ball is Phillips. The handball in front of DeAngelis. Got the hands free. Shoveled the handball out the way of Winnie Lang. She gave it off to a teammate to the top of the square for Hunt. too strong in the goal square. Here's Chloe Hunt. And from point-blank range, the Southern Saints have got 2 in a row, and the margin is back to 9 points.
That is Hunt's 8th goal for the season so far, but goodness me, the body work that she did on Georgia Clark in that goal square to make sure she was able to protect the fall of the ball was seriously impressive. Georgia Clark, we've spoken about her a couple of times. She's no slouch when it comes to that one-on-one defending, but Chloe Hunt acknowledges probably was the stronger of the two in that contest. So all she needed to do was body enough to make sure that where the ball was falling was protected by her body and take that one. But there's a reason why she's been so important in that goal square for the Southern Saints this year.
So Tessa Boyd has moved into the ruck against Richardson, and the Southern Saints have won the footy out of the middle again. DeAngelis against Bateman. Kept it in. Went for Phelan. The handball just missed her. DeAngelis goes back in and brings Richardson to ground. So we'll have this one thrown in on the outer side of the Hangar. It's turned out to be an absolutely perfect day for footy here in Tullamarine this afternoon. The ground bathed in sunlight. We've had Southport beat Essendon in the Smithies VFL by a point. Now the Bombers are holding on to a 9-point lead against the Southern Saints.
There's a bit of grit about this Saints side this quarter, isn't there?
They've come out firing. Maybe that late goal just before half-time certainly given them a spark. Brilliant pick-up by Olivia Manfrey. Checks the kick and it's going to be turned over. Tessa Boyd takes the mark. She's quick to have a bounce. There's Tessa. Give the handball off to Jolliffe. And then get it back.
Well
for Foran. Free kick. Georgia Clark can't believe it. Phillips has got some space to get another disposal. Back over the mark. Wants to go into the corridor. And that's been paid a mark. So, Wrigley, again, just trying to keep possession of the footy, although Goff's turned it over. Gave to Hunt. Gave it back to Goff. Inside 50, that kick is partially smothered. So the Southern Saints with Saltry. Went for Lang. Hart-Aluni stole the ball. Handball just to space. Nanscorn comes in. Hart-Aluni goes again for a second attempt. She's racked up, and the umpire will ask for it.
The ability of Manfrey and Hart-Aluni, those two Bombers, to cleanly grab the ball off the deck, just that one take on the move, it sets them apart, doesn't it, in the scope of this game. They're able to gather at speed without needing to take that second grab and slow them down.
So DeAngelis had a couple of disposals in that passage of play. Bateman followed her down, and then she was wrapped up by Bella Eno in the centre square. The umpire will ask for it again. We've got 12 minutes in this second term. Eno wrapped up by Nanscorn. Another stoppage will follow.
So the Bombers are just getting those two spares to sit behind the play here. One of them is Chaston, just to try and stop those long kicks in. So it's forcing the Saints to be more considered with the way they move the ball, like that kick there. It's forcing the Saints to be better.
It was a brilliant kick, and it ended up with Foran. Direction of Hunt, who's got two to beat in the air. Nanscorn at the fall of the ball. Handball is a wild one. And wrapped up in a tackle is Ford. Chaston had a go. Torpy back to go forward. Thumping kick from a standing start. Lang. Hunt. Will Hunt try to get it to Winnie? She went the other way and went to DeAngelis. And she's bobbed up and kicked another one for the Southern Saints. 3 in a row. Something from nothing. And we have got the close one on a Saturday afternoon.
That was unreal physicality from Chloe Hunt there to win the footy, and I thought at first that she'd made an error by turning back into the corridor, back into the congestion, and thought she was going to get caught. But she just knew that she had a teammate there that was going to be dangerous as long as she could just turn into that space. And D'Angela's kicking truly is the other part of it. We talk a lot about conversion, taking your chances, and that's a chance that the Saints took. Now they're only down by the 3 points, Joey.
And we got the close one. 8:26, 3-5-23. What are you saying if you're Cherie O'Neill, Jem? What are you telling the runner to get out there and tell the girls?
Get back to that confident possession footy.
Here's Marnie, smashed into her own teammate. And Morrow. In fact, it's Torpy thumping it forward. D'Angela sits underneath it. Oh, brilliant fist from Porter, which worked out towards Morrow. Malnikas is in this contest as well. Everything seems to be bouncing, though, the way of the Southern Saints. Can the Bombers find the answer? Porter gave to Molan. A rushed kick has been intercepted. Jolliffe comes to the interchange side of the ground. DeAngelis, since being moved forward, has had a really good quarter. Now there's been a 50-metre penalty.
She's the leading possession winner on the ground, and she's kicked that important goal. Laid 5 tackles, had 3 clearances, DeAngelis.
So she gets to half forward. She'll set it up in the Hunt direction, who's coming out of the goal square. Brilliant. Brilliant movement. Brilliant leading lanes from Chloe Hunt.
When she's up and about, she looks unstoppable, doesn't she?
Very tough to stop the full forward coming out of the goal square. Phillips has just come back on the ground, giving a couple of high fives as she charges into the forward pocket. Chloe Hunt, though, has eyes only for her second. On its way, it'll fall short, and it'll go off hands and through for a minor score. But they closed to 2 points, Jem, and they trailed by as much as 21 during that second term.
But this is what I mean. They're unpredictable, the Southern Saints. This footy is brilliant. They look so clean. They look so composed at the moment. But then they have a quarter that all completely falls away. So you just can't trust which version of the Saints is going to come out each week or each quarter even.
So Porter got to Goff. Goff found Gaylor on the wing. Ball hasn't hit the ground for the Bombers, but they haven't really had a lot of it going forward of the centre. It's fisted away from Morrow. And it's Gaylor going to retrieve her own ball. But it's the Southern Saints who bob up with it. Strong tackle out of sight of the ground. Came from Marnie. Malnikas in. Jolliffe at half back is wrapped up. A couple of Southern Saints players down with a bit of cramp. All up now, and Georgia Ricardo was one of those players. Terrific tackle there from Ruby Marnie. We'll have this one locked up again. So Maddie Ford is standing Hunt, every other player forward of the centre circles.
Huda is currently heading into the Bombers' rooms, holding what looks like a massive towel to her head. So I imagine she's got to get something stitched up in there before coming back out onto the ground.
So we go inside the 50 for the Bombers, and a free kick going the way of Emily Goff. This is an all-important foray forward for the Dons. They had, as we spoke about in the first half, Jeff, so many chances to put a sizable margin on the Southern Saints. It's been whittled down from 21 to 2.
Someone needs to lead for her here. I don't know if she's got this leg, you know.
There's been a few offered, and Goff having none of that. From just inside 50, gives it everything she's got, and then right on the goal line, a super mark by Nat Plain to just stop any Bomber momentum.
Looked like it nearly had the distance in it there.
Literally a game of centimetres on the goal line. They'll get another chance because that one rolls out of bounds, and Jem Bastiani giving the shoulder the big wind-up.
It was quite an aggressive lasso from the movement from the umpire there.
Well, it's on the outer side of the ground. Goff might back her leg in again. This time she chooses to check the kick in the forward direction. Chaston down there, as is Malnikas. Boot to ball to the top of the square. Might be locked up. There's 3 Southern Saints lurking. Ricardo, the last player to jump on top of the pack just to make an absolute certainty of it.
This is where Bailey Hunt could do some damage.
Keep your eye on her. Jolliffe, Hunt, came back to Goff. Quick snap. It's through. Well, DeAngelis at one end is making something out of nothing. Emily Goff's doing the exact same thing at the others, and the Bombers extend back to an 8-point lead, Gemma.
And Joey, who was it that got the ball out to Goff?
Probably Bailey Hunt.
But yeah, I'm loving the confidence that Goff is playing with. We spoke off the top. She's a recent draftee to the club. She's a bit of a utility, so can kind of be used everywhere. It wasn't Bailey Hunt that got it to her, because Bailey Hunt's just come on.
Well, it was Ruby Marnie then.
It was Ruby Marnie, but just that connection, that quick thinking, and Goff being able to get it on the boot quickly was very, very good there. So this is a seriously good game, Joey.
And it's a good response from the Bombers, who have been asked some questions by the Southern Saints in this term alone. And so they'll go into the three-quarter time with an 8-point advantage. Maybe just
trickier given it's now an 8-point margin. Oh, the way the Saints have been playing, they could score a couple quickly.
Well, we're underway in the final term. We're going to have a secondary stoppage. They've got 20 minutes to make up 8 points.
Sophie Molan back into the forward line this quarter, so she's played at both ends of the ground today.
Yeah, she's had a pretty good day.
Kicking maybe coming out of defence could be a little bit cleaner, but other than that...
So Torpy gets the free kick after being held in the ruck contest. Nance gone. Went along the ground, or smashed into was Chaston.
That was clumsy.
And she's earned the free kick against Caitlin Matthews. So the skipper, bring it inboard to Gaylor. Thought about going back to Chaston and decided to play the percentages and go to the corridor. Maybe that wasn't quite the percentages, maybe the dangers as Hunt gets it on 50. Kicked a goal in the third. Thumps it to the top of the square. Four in a one-on-one with Goff. Another couple of goal kickers going toe-to-toe. Trickles over the line right next to the behind post.
Bailey Hunt copped a big knee to the back from... who was that? From someone. Copped a massive knee to the back and is looking a little bit worse for wear out in the middle there.
Well, keep an eye on her, Jem, as you work out who the knee was from, so you can blame someone. Locked up again.
To be fair, whoever it was...
Has a strong knee, you reckon?
Did check on Hunt before...
Didn't?
Did.
Or did, okay.
Before going to attack the next play.
So important to Jem Bastiani, she's even brought the binoculars out to have a look.
Someone wearing number... Oh, it's Torpy. Sorry.
There you go. Okay.
I've got the wrong number on my team sheet.
Okay. So the ruck, Torpy.
Yeah. So knows how to put a knee up in a contest, because that's how you ruck, right?
Well, I suppose. I wouldn't know. The flying shot at goal came off the boot of Darcy Guttridge, out of bounds on the full. Jem,
yes?
I played football for, well, maybe 18 years or so, and let me tell you, I never was asked to do a ruck contest. And if anyone watched the State of Play promo this week, they'd understand why. It's not because my skills weren't good enough.
What position did you play, Joey?
Forward pocket and half-back flank.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Inside 50. I was also a rover and a winger.
Oh, so you played everywhere but the ruck?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well done.
I got taken out of the half-back flank very early on because I don't have a defensive bone in my body. It's all about forwards attacking, thrusting, and here's what the Bombers are doing. They're going forward, although uncomfortable bounce for Bailey Hunt. She couldn't win the Sharon. Nance gone, though. Does a 360 as she picked it up cleanly. Brilliant tackle. Super from the Southern Saints and from Deanna Jolliffe to win the footy back.
Just thought that Lily Rose Williamson just thought she had more time than she did.
Jolliffe goes inside 50. It's a beautiful ball. And Guttridge takes the mark. Well, this will make it a 2-point ball game early in the final term.
Darcy Guttridge is incredibly skilled. Definitely has the leg in her to kick this one.
Well, it's all about the accuracy, isn't it, really? It's all about having the nerves of steel at this point of the game. A steady approach from the number 50. We're right behind the kick. It's on its way and it's missing.
Never looked likely, did it? It almost felt like Guttridge was nervous about getting the distance, so tried to put too much behind it, which then sent it offline.
Bombers bring the footy back in. Clark didn't take the mark, but enough time to gather the footy back in, give to Matty Ford. He's got the Tom green wheels on. Handballs backwards to go forwards. Now it's with Clark again. Down the line, Manfrey a long way up in the contest. Couldn't quite affect it because Chloe Sultry took a terrific mark.
She's been very good today, Chloe Sultry. Very strong in the air.
Well, right on show then. And Chloe Sultry runs her full measure. Sends it to half forward. Foreign from the back. Chaston lurking. The skipper lets Marnie pick up the ball. Nanscorn's out the back. Another whistle favouring the Southern Saints. Disposed of incorrectly. So a free kick going to Ali Hines. Geez, wouldn't this be fitting, Gem? In game 50.
Yes.
They've got 7 points to make up. Hines just decides to go to the top of the goal square. And it's Gaylor winning the ball for the Bombers. But again, turned over by Gem's girl Sultry. Across the ground. Did well to Matthews. Inside out spiral to about 30 out from goal. Foreign did a 180. Strong tackle from the Bombers. It ends up, though, in a smothered kick. They're trying everything. Matthews slipped over her own feet. Slow to get to both of them now.
Oh, she's not okay out there.
She's in a real world of pain.
She's running it off now, trying to come to the bench.
Holding the ball, so the Southern Saints.
Can I say, though, Joey, just on Caitlin Matthews, I've been super impressed with what she's offered today. I think she's definitely on the right track to finally make her AFLW debut at some point this year.
In the forward pocket, Foreign on the deck. The Bombers can clear. It might come straight back. The mark has been taken by Tessa Boyd. She sort of wants to open the ground up a little bit, so she comes corridor side. And Jolliffe, who's sort of been standing at centre half forward for the best part of 5 minutes, went for Plain, missed her. Support from Ryan. Jolliffe came across. Chaston went to Nanscorn. Now, if the Bombers get out, they're away, but a whistle means it's coming back again. And another free kick to the Southern Saints.
That one, I think, was against Chaston. Chaston just needs to... I know that Chaston's trying to put their team on their back and really get them up and about. Sometimes it's just falling too far into that ill-disciplined side.
Jolliffe will go again inside 50. Into the pocket. Goff in a one-on-one with Guttridge. She finds the safety of the boundary line.
It's tense, Joey.
It's very tense to start this final term. It's been camped at the end of the ground in which the Southern Saints are kicking. Very similar to how the Smithies VFL played out earlier. Thrown back in. Hunt doing the ruck work. Nanscorn's first to get onto the Sharon. Can't pick it up cleanly though. And it's Piper Phelan throwing her into the ground.
I know that keeping the ball in your front half is a massive win, especially with time ticking down in the VFLW, but the Saints need to get some scoreboard result here because we know the Bombers can quickly get it to the other end and be pretty damaging when they go inside 50. So you'd want to get some reward here. Given it is the 7-point margin, 7 minutes into a 20-minute quarter.
Nanscorn, head over the footy, wrapped up, going nowhere. Wrigley wrapped her up. Nanscorn just buying a bit of time by tying up the shoelace right at the stoppage.
Dangerous with the head down like that.
Very much so, but in the end it came out the way of Southern Saints. Feeling inside 50. Here is Nanscorn. Not too worried about the shoelace now with the Sharon in hand. Uncomfortable bounce from Molan. Got the support she needed from Bailey Hunt.
Oh, how good.
And they're off to the races now, the Bombers. Although nothing to go to from Hunt in front of her. Oh, she'll get it back. Terrific stuff from the Dons. Or slipping over. And a wry smile. She knew she was going to ground. And a little bit of push and shove from Bella Eno. and from Sophie Mullen.
But Hunt there knew just enough, slipped over, but knew just to roll to the boundary line to get that throw in rather than that holding the ball free against.
So thrown back in. One down. Torpy tried to volleyball spike it forward. Nance gone.
Yeah.
Was that a dangerous one? It was. So George will get the free kick. There's definitely some feeling in this contest now. The Bombers have spread from this contest. And Bateman takes the mark. She's got a teammate riding by shotgun. It's Isabel Porter. Bateman wants to look more central. Malnikas, Gaylor was there. Torpy, she'll just thump it forward. It's a one-on-one, and the mark's been taken by Maddie Ford. She's got the short option on. She decides to go longer and come to Porter in the shade of the Hangar. Again, the short ball's a good one, and it's well scooped up by Ford. Kick though, Ricardo didn't take the mark. Nance gone, lurking. Stack of players around this ball. Malnikas is trying to win it. The umpire will ask for it again as Williamson had it wrapped up around her chest.
Joey, every stoppage is a win for Essendon. It chews up a bit of time.
Well, Malnikas sees no other way than to go forward, as does Bailey Hunt. Gave to Williamson, got it back. So Bailey sends it to the top of the square, and the mark's been taken by Olivia Manfrey. Brilliant from Liv. Hunt trying to get through. She's being blocked right next to the mark. And the umpire is giving the big, just get out of the way, girls. Fight somewhere else.
A lot of aggression.
Olivia Manfrey, who's kicked a couple of goals this season. This will be a great moment for the young girl to extend the margin. On its way, it's starting to work back. Hasn't got the carry it needs, and it's off hands and through. 4A behind.
Again, I know it's just a behind. You want the goal, but given there's no time on in this at this level, it's a win because now, yeah, the Saints have the ball in hand, but they have to go the length of the field, and Essendon is focused on creating a stoppage game to chew up that time.
Ricardo, beautiful mark. Winnie Lang. It's the comeback inboard.
Elle Chaston has been stationed into deep defence on Chloe Hunt. I imagine purely to deal with the physicality that Chloe Hunt has been bringing in those marking contests.
Oh, they smash into one another there. DeAngelis and Ryan. Molan gives it to Hunt, who's got to look backwards because there's nothing forward for her. Composure. Used every bit of the 50 AFLW games of experience, and now she wants a break. She's calling for someone on the bench to come on. Ryan, can she keep it in? She can. Inside 50 for the Bombers. On the stretch, Richardson went back to Ryan. They're surging forward, the Dons. Manfrey's got 2 to beat. Made a contest of things, but a terrific mark has been taken on the last line by Chloe Saltrey.
Both sides contending with the sun in their eyes at this end of the ground as well. So it's very hard to read the ball as it's coming in.
Winnie Lang got that ball, quickly sprinted to get it again. Brilliant handball back inboard. They're trying everything here, the Southern Saints, to get to the other end of the ground. Nance gone, the brick wall. Clark, one way, the other. Back through the centre square. Marnie's handball towards Malnikas. She'll have another go, getting it to Chaston. Piper Phelan picked the pocket. Chaston went back after it, locked it up, spilt out. So play on is the call. Marnie's at the bottom of this contest. Malnikas is strong. Wrigley locked up. Umpire will ask for it.
Joey, there are some tired players out there. Charlotte Ryan, who's leading everyone for disposals with 20 so far, has just had a swig of the pickle juice and thrown the container back to the trainers on the boundary line and then powered into the attacking half for the Southern Saints.
Winnie Lang is out there with Ford. It was won by the Bombers. They're sending it forward off the boot of Morrow to about 50 out from goal. There's a whistle, and it's going the way of the Dons. Richardson, kick and a half out from goal. She's got Molan 30 out. Manfrey leads, blocked. Called to play on now is Jada Richardson. Pumps it to the top of the goal square. Manfrey goes back. From behind her was Plain, and the fist just gets to the safety of that boundary line.
Again, another win for the Bombers. 13 minutes burned up in this last quarter. They lead by the 8 points.
So it's about to be thrown back in. Essendon are in attack. They're holding an 8-point advantage. With about 6 minutes to go. Grabbed out of the ruck by Mole. And the spiral to the top of the goal square. Manfrey is lurking. She's a danger woman there. Smothered by DeAngelis. A second attempt. Hits the stick. And a minor score. You can hear them all. Lock it in. Lock it in. Are behind. All important, as Gemma Bastiani said. 4-10. 34, 3-7, 25. Gem?
Yeah, we're on the verge here, Joey, of Essendon's first win of the season. I don't want to say that after what... I'm reluctant to say it after what happened in the last game, but they just look ready for the challenge, the Bombers, don't you think?
That they do. Malnikas trying to keep it in. Does just that. They're inside 50 again, the Dons. Strong clash of bodies. Forward went down like she had the ankle wrenched out from underneath her. And in the end, we're going to have this one locked up.
So the Saints trying to keep it one-on-ones across the ground because they want those options ahead of the play when they do win it so they can get out. But the Bombers are keeping their defensive structure. So they've got what looks like a spare, but it's actually just their defensive five sitting behind the play here. So the long kick to Hunt has to be contended with Ford behind her and another defender in front of her.
And they won't mind this at all, Jem, because it's contest after contest. And it's going to be locked up again.
No, and this is where someone like Georgia Nanscorn, who's got that physical presence around the footy, can really come to the fore.
Malnikas just wobbles it inside 50. Is there a push out? Is it high? The umpire didn't blow the whistle. Now it's with the captain, Chaston. From 45, Manfrey's in the goal square. Oh, well trapped. Brilliant from Plain. And the Southern Saints, again, will charge forward. Sultry will give the handball off to Boyd. They'll have another crack at going forward. DeAngelis thumps it to vacant land. Hunt sits underneath it in a 2-on-1. Did really well, did Chloe. Chaston's back there for the Bombers. Dives on the ball. Gets it out before they're tackled. Asking the question now about whether there was someone dived on it. It's spilt out. And moving forward. They're not panicking through Goff. He just kicks to space, which means the Southern Saints will be first to gather it in. Guttridge. Phelan. Threw it away. And now it's time to slow down.
Yeah, there's no reason to rush. Just take as much time as you can. Play possession footy here for the Bombers.
Well, Davidge went looking for Hunt, who just came on the ground, and it was smashed away from her. And over the line it goes. Locked up.
We can see Christina Bernardi on the boundary line with that calf strapped, directing teammates.
Thrown back up. Malnikas. Quite happy to lock it in. Have this one thrown up again.
Hines, Joey, has laid 9 tackles for the game. Impressive from her in game 50.
Richardson smashed into Guttridge. Guttridge may have just had the air knocked out of her.
Oh, it's on here.
Yeah, a bit happening off the ball. Didn't like that at all. The treatment of some of the players. Gutridge's going to come straight from the ground. Used for Hart, Aluni back on. Got the head strapped, a whistle. Now, I think it's a throw-in now.
Did she play on from outside the boundary line, maybe?
Not exactly sure on the answer or the reason as to why. So,
but again, this is a win for Essendon.
Thrown back up.
2 minutes left in the game. They're up by more than a goal.
Killing time. Every second counting. Nanscorn on the bench, watches on. Thrown in the air. Clearance with the Southern Saints. Strong tackle from Harder-Looney. Wins back the footy, although Malnikas left it on the deck. Brilliant smother as Harder-Looney had a second attempt and takes it over the line. They ring the changes on the bench. Quite declare the Bombers are safe with 9 points ahead. Oh, they're in the box seat. Whistle. St Kilda free kick. Advantage is paid, and Joel lifts off to the races. They've got to make everything perfect from here. But Porter does that for the Bombers.
Brilliant by Porter.
Well read. Takes it. Looks for Malnikas. Ash can take the mark. They're having another go here, the Southern Saints.
She's sore here as well.
D'Angela's slow to get to her feet. Fortunately, I guess for the Southern Saints, that one bounced inside the 50 before rolling over the line. So a stoppage.
D'Angelis has had a big game as well. 19 disposals, a goal, 7 marks and 6 tackles. She's been impressive today.
So Torpy wins it down. Locked up. Stack of players around the ball. We're almost out of time.
Into the last minute of the game.
Bombers on the verge of recording their first win of the season in round 5, which is we
congratulating each other on the bench down here.
Very much welcome for Cherie O'Neill. Malnikas to Chaston. That'll do. It won't matter where the kick goes. They will not care because they finish in front of the Southern Saints.
The Saints will get an opportunity at goal here, but even if they do kick it, which I don't suspect they will, they're still too far away from that.
So it's Gab D'Angelis having the shot at goal. Percentage could come into it.
The umpire's taking it back.
Oh, she's not going to have the shot. Okay, so the final score will stand. The Bombers will win by 9 points. 4-10, 34 to 3-7, 25. 2 goals to Bailey Hunt, 1 to Sarah Ford, 1 to Emily Goff, while for the Southern Saints, Chloe Hunt, Georgia Forrett and Gabby D'Angelis kicked the goals. It is an Essendon win, Jen, by 9 points.
Yeah, that